Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ifeoluwa. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draft and cut a corset top with basque waistline. So if this is something you're interested in learning, stick around and watch this video to the end. And it is also beginners friendly, so if you're just starting out and you want to learn how to cut a corset top, then this video is for you. If you're also seeing this and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do well to subscribe, give my video a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much, guys. Now let's get started. So these are the measurements I'll be using. This is the bust measurements, the waist, the front waistline measurements, the back waistline measurements, the across back, the armhole circumference, the bust point, and the under bust. So this waist that I have here is the upper waistline measurement. So later on in the tutorial, as I'm drafting, I'm going to show you the lower waistline measurements. So you have to measure out your lower waistline measurements for this tutorial. Now the first thing I'm going to measure out is the chest line measurements. So the chest line measurement is my armhole circumference divided by 2. So I'm going to measure that and mark it out. Then I'm going to mark out my bust points. I'm going to mark out the under bust. Then I'm going to mark out my waistline. So that is the upper waistline. That is the one that I have at 16 inches. Then I'm going to do the same thing at this other side. Then I'll connect together. Now, as I don't want the top to be too short, I don't want it to stop at exactly my waistline, I'm going to come down by 3 inches from the waistline. So that is the part I'm talking about, the lower waistline. So you have to measure out that 3 inches. After measuring out these 3 inches here, you have to measure around the circumference of your waistline to know what is there, because it won't be the same thing as the upper waistline measurement. So you measure out the circumference of the upper waistline measurement and the lower waistline measurements. So I have this as the shoulder line, this is the chest line, the bust points, the under bust, the upper waistline, and then I have the other one as the lower waistline. Now I'm going to measure out my across back measurements divided by 2. So I have 15 inches divided by 2, which is 7.5. I'll measure it out on the shoulder line and then on the chest line, then I'll connect together. On the shoulder line there, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2 and mark that point. From that point, I'll be coming in by 0.75. Now on the chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurements divided by 4. So I have 38 divided by 4, which is 9.5. Then I'm going to connect those 3 points together to form my armhole. So I'm going to label this part as the center front, while the other side is going to be the side front. Now on the chest line, I'm going to take the nipple to nipple measurement, which is the bust span, divided by 2. So I have 8 inches divided by 2, which is 4 inches, and I'm going to connect together. Now on the waistline there, towards the center front, I'm going to take in 0.5. Then towards the side front, I'll take 1.5 inches. So I'll do the same thing for the other waistline, that is the upper waistline, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the under bust. Then I'm going to connect them together. After connecting from the under bust to the waistline, I'm going to use my French curve to connect from the under bust to the bust points. Now I'm going to take my neckline measurements. I'll be using 7 inches for the neck depth, and then for the armhole area, I'm going to be using 6 inches. So I'm going to connect that with a sweetheart neckline. I'm going to be using the French curve to connect it together. So here I'm just measuring out the neckline so as to get the shoulder slant. It's not really necessary, but just for this next step, you can just go ahead to do this to get the shoulder slants. Then after getting the shoulder slants, I'm going to divide what I have on the shoulder by 2, and then I'll mark that point. So from that point, I'm going to be drawing a straight line to the bust point. So that's going to be like the shoulder dart. So I'm going to draw a straight line to the bust points like so. Now to prevent gaping on the neckline there, so that it's going to sit well on your chest, I'm going to be taking some inches off here. So I'm going to be taking 0.5 inches on both sides. So that is 1.5 altogether. Then I'm going to connect back into the bust point. So that way you are going to prevent gaping. It's going to sit very well. I'm going to measure out my bust and waist. So I already have my bust measurements there as 9.5. Then I'm going to measure out what I have here and then replace it on the chest line. So I have about 0.5 inches. I'm going to replace it there. Now on the upper waistline, I have 32 inches as mine. So divided by 4, I have 8 inches. So I'm going to mark out the 8 inches, and then whatever I have here, I have 2 inches here. I'm going to replace it and put it after the 8 inches, so that way it's going to be balanced. Now on the lower waistline, I also measured out around my waistline. So I have 34 inches as mine. So divided by 4, I have 8.5 inches, and I'm also going to measure out what I have there and replace it on that point. Now I'm going to go ahead to connect those points together. Now I'm going to take my side that I have my front waistline as 16 and my back waistline as 14 inches. So the difference between that is 2 inches. So I have to take that on the bust point there around the side of the pattern paper. Then I'm going to connect it back into the bust point. So this is what I have. Now if you are going to be adding sleeves directly to this top, you can leave it like this. But if this is going to be a tube top as I made mine, I'm just going to use my French curve to connect from that neckline into the chest line, so that way you're not going to have any armhole area. So it is just going to be smooth like that. So that is if you're not putting sleeves directly to the fabric, to the top. But if you're going to be putting sleeves there, don't do this method I just did. Just leave it as the armhole like that. Now before I cut this out, I'm just going to fold that part in so that we can correct whatever issue that we have there. You won't have equal neckline there anymore by the time you cut it out on your fabric. So it's better for you to correct it on the pattern paper before cutting out. So I'm just going to draw out a new neckline so that we are going to have equal neckline. So after doing that, I can then proceed to cut out. Then I'm going to cover up the side that. So this is what I have. Then I'm going to cut out the cups. So from that center front there, I'm going to go in by ½ inch. So that part depends on how wide you want it to be. So I want mine to just be ½ inch. Then I'm going to connect from the under bust there. So that is the under bust. With my curve, I'm going to connect it into that ½ inch that I have there. So this is the first cup. Now for the second cup, which is at the side, I'm also going to use my French curve to just create a curve from the under bust into the armhole there. Then I'm going to go ahead to cut it out. Now to be able to create the basque waistline, I'm going to join these two together. That is the center front and the side front. I'm going to join them and close them up like so. Then I'm going to look for another piece of paper and join them together on the waistline like that. Now from that waistline, I'm going to measure out how long I want the basque to be. So I'm going to be leaving mine at 5 inches. I'm going to mark that, and then from the waistline, from that side, I'm going to connect with a V line, with a V shape. Then I'm going to cut it out. So this is what I have for my basque corsets. So this is everything. This is the front pattern. Now if you want to create boning channels, you can just decide to draw out wherever you want your boning to be. So I'm just illustrating here. So for me, I'm just going to have one at the middle. So that is all I want. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have 3 boning channels. So I'm just going to create one here and then cut it out. So don't forget to label it. If you are going to even be having up to 4 or 5 or 6 boning channels, make sure you label when you create them. Now let's move on to the back pattern. So I'm going to bring out my zip allowance. I'm using 1 inch for the zip allowance. Then I'm going to connect together. Now I'm going to measure out my chest line, which is my armhole, divided by 2. Then I'll measure out the back waistline. So don't forget that we have the front waistline at 16 while the back is 14. So that is the upper back waistline. So I have 14 inches. Then I'm going to take the 3 inches I took at the front just to extend the top length. So I'm going to do the same thing at the other side, and then I'll connect together. So I have this as the shoulder line, this is the chest line, the upper waistline, that is for the back, and then the lower waistline. Then this part, I'm going to label it as the center back. Now from that center back line, I'm going to take my across back measurement divided by 2. So from that center back line, on the shoulder line and then on the chest line, then I'll connect together. On the shoulder line, I'll come down by 1 inch. And then whatever I have left, I'm going to divide by 2. Then I'll mark that point. I'm going to be coming in by 0.5 there. Now on the chest line, from the center back line, I'll take my bust measurement divided by 4. I'm going to connect the 3 points to create my armhole. Now on that point, that is the center back line, on the waistline, I'm going to go in by 1 inch. So that is because the back is not straight, it's a bit curved. So I'm going to go in by 1 inch there, and then I'll connect it into the chest line. And I'm also going to connect that other side. So this is going to be the new zip allowance. Now I already have my bust measurement, and I'm going to take my waist measurement. So that is the upper waist measurement, which is 32 inches. So from that point there, that is the new zip allowance, right? So from that point, I'll be taking the waist divided by 4. So that is my 32 inches, the upper waistline. Then I'll take the lower waistline too from that zip allowance point. That is the new zip allowance. I'm going to take it there. Then I'm going to connect together. Then for the neckline, I'm going to take the same thing I used at the for the front pattern, which is 6 inches. I'm going to use the same thing there. Then I want the neckline to be straight at the back, so I'm also going to be using 6 inches for the depth. Then I'm going to connect that with a straight line. To prevent gaping at the back also, you know, at the front we also took out some inches to prevent gaping. Now for the back too, I'm going to be taking 1 inch away from the armhole there just to prevent gaping. Then I'm going to be connecting that 1 inch back into the chest line. So this is what I have for the back pattern, and then I'm going to cut out. Now if you also want to create boning channels for the back pattern, you can just go ahead to cut it out like this, but I'm going to leave mine plain that way. I'm not going to be creating any, I'm not going to be putting any boning at the back pattern, at the back of the top. So I'm just going to leave it like this. So here I'm just showing you how the sides should be equal. So that is because of that side dart that we took at the front. You know that we took 2 inches as the side dart. So you just make sure you accurately measure out your body measurements or whoever you are sewing for before you make this top or any top that you want to make. So this is it for the front and the back pattern. I'm going to proceed to cut out on my fabric, and then I'll add all the necessary allowances to the fabric. So this is what I have on the fabric. So I cut out both fabric, main fabric, and then the lining I'll be using for this, and then I added all the necessary allowances needed for this top. So you guys, in my next video I'm going to show you how to sew this top from the beginning to the end. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe before leaving, give my video a thumbs up, and also come back for the next video. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Bye.